The scandal broke not with a whisper, but with a thunderclap that reverberated through the financial world. The Argentis acquisition, the very deal Victoria had castigated Marcus Thorne over weeks earlier, collapsed in spectacular fashion. It wasn't just a failure to close. It was revealed that Willpower Enterprises had relied on severely flawed environmental impact reports personally signed off by Victoria, leading to massive, undisclosed liabilities. The Argentis government, citing gross negligence and potential fraud, not only canceled the deal but announced punitive fines and launched a high-profile investigation that threatened Willpower's operations across the continent. The media frenzy was instantaneous and brutal. Headlines screamed about corporate malfeasance, environmental irresponsibility, and, most damningly, Victoria Willpower's hubris. Old stories like the Eurotech debacle were resurrected as evidence of a pattern of reckless decision-making driven by an autocratic leader. Analysts questioned the stability of the entire conglomerate, and Willpower stock plummeted. Inside the company, panic reigned. An emergency board meeting was convened, the atmosphere thick with fear and recrimination. Initial findings from a rushed internal audit seemed damningly clear. The faulty reports had bypassed several standard verification stages, pushed through on Victoria's direct impatient orders. Emails surfaced showing her dismissing warnings from mid-level analysts about potential discrepancies, demanding the acquisition proceed at pace, overriding concerns with sheer force of will. The narrative solidified rapidly. Victoria's legendary willpower, her refusal to heed caution or delegate, had finally led to disaster. Her insistence on control, her flawed decision-making, was squarely to blame. Victoria was incandescent with rage, denying culpability, insisting the data she reviewed was sound, that protocols were followed. She accused Thorne and others of incompetence or worse, sabotage. But the evidence trail, meticulously laid out by the internal auditors, a team subtly influenced by Julian Method's earlier diagnostic recommendations on reporting structures, led directly and unequivocally to her desk. Her reputation for micromanagement, once a symbol of strength, now became the weapon used against her. It was in this crucible of blame that Julian Method played his hand, not as an accuser, but as a voice of calm, rational analysis. He expressed deep sympathy for Mrs. Willpower, acknowledging the immense pressure she operated under. "It is a tragedy," he stated during a tense, informal gathering of senior executives, his voice filled with apparent empathy. "But perhaps we are focusing on the symptom, not the disease." He didn't defend Victoria's actions directly. Instead, he subtly shifted the focus. The reports were flawed, yes, but how could such flawed reports reach Mrs. Willpower's desk for final approval without multiple fail-safes catching the errors? Why was the system so reliant on one person's final check under immense time pressure? He spoke of outdated verification protocols, siloed departments preventing cross-checking, and a corporate culture that perhaps discouraged raising red flags to the top, all issues he had peripherally noted in his diagnostic phase. "Any leader, however diligent, however strong-willed," Julian continued, his gaze sweeping across the anxious faces, "is vulnerable if the system beneath them is fundamentally flawed. The failure isn't necessarily one of judgment, but perhaps one of methodology. The process itself created the conditions for this error." He planted the idea that the system, the established willpower way championed by Victoria for decades, was the true culprit. It wasn't her specific failure, but a failure inherent in the structure she presided over. His words were a balm to the terrified executives, offering a less terrifying explanation than the outright failure of their infallible leader. It also subtly positioned him as the one who understood these systemic flaws, the one who could potentially fix them. While Victoria raged, seemingly proving the accusations of autocratic behavior, Julian calmly dissected the process, appearing reasonable and forward-thinking. The blame game was in full swing, but Julian Method was skillfully manipulating the rules, ensuring that while Victoria took the initial hit, the foundation of her authority, her very method, was being irrevocably undermined. Amidst the fallout from the Argentis disaster and the subtle campaign by Julian Method to discredit Victoria's system, a figure emerged from the periphery, Someone so ingrained in the fabric of the Willpower household, they were almost invisible. Mr. Abernathy, the family's head butler for over 40 years. A man of quiet dignity and unwavering loyalty, Abernathy had served Victoria since her early days as the young wife of the original Mr. Willpower, witnessing the family's triumphs and tribulations with discreet silence. Seeing Victoria isolated, blamed, and her life's work seemingly crumbling under the weight of the scandal, Abernathy felt a conflict he hadn't experienced in decades. His loyalty to Victoria warred with a secret he had guarded for nearly 20 years, a secret he now believed was directly relevant to the current crisis. After days of internal struggle, his conscience won. He sought out Eleanor, not Victoria, judging Eleanor to be the more rational and less likely to dismiss him out of hand in the current climate. He found her late one evening in the mansion's dimly lit study, poring over financial reports, the strain evident on her face. "Miss Eleanor," Abernathy began, his voice barely above a whisper, his usual composure replaced by a profound gravity. "Forgive my intrusion, but there is something you must know. Something pertinent to the difficulties your mother is facing." Eleanor looked up, surprised by his tone and the unusual request. "Abernathy? What is it?" He hesitated, then spoke, the words tumbling out as if breaking a dam held back for too long. "It concerns the methods, Miss Eleanor, your mother's methods. They weren't always solely her own. They were compromised, sabotaged years ago." Eleanor stared at him, bewildered. "Sabotaged? What are you talking about? Mother's system is legendary. She built it herself." "She believes she did," Abernathy corrected gently. "But after the unfortunate events surrounding the Eurotech matter, nearly 2 decades ago, a change was implemented, quietly, without your mother's full awareness of its implications." He explained that following the public fallout from that failed takeover, Victoria's late husband, concerned about her perceived recklessness but unwilling to confront her directly, had authorized a highly confidential internal review. This review led to the implementation of a new, complex layer of protocol within the company's information flow and decision-making processes. It was designed ostensibly as a fail-safe, a way to subtly filter information and flag potentially risky ventures before they reached Victoria, giving others a chance to intervene or redirect. It was presented as an efficiency measure, an upgrade to the system, Abernathy explained, his voice heavy with remembered guilt, as he had been privy to some of the discussions due to his long-standing position. But its true nature was counterintuitive. It created deliberate bottlenecks, introduced subtle biases in reporting, and required convoluted approval chains for certain types of initiatives, particularly bold, aggressive ones your mother favored. It was designed to slow her down, to force a more conservative approach without her realizing the system itself was guiding her. This hidden protocol, this counterintuitive secret, had been implemented by a small, trusted circle loyal to the elder Mr. Willpower. It operated beneath the surface, influencing decisions, contributing to delays, and sometimes making potentially successful ventures appear too problematic to pursue. The broken engagements of Alistair, the abruptly canceled projects. Abernathy now suspected this hidden system played a role, creating obstacles or casting shadows that weren't entirely organic. Your mother's willpower remained immense, Abernathy stressed, but she was often battling a system designed to subtly resist her, forcing her to exert even more will to overcome obstacles that shouldn't have existed. Some of the past failures, they weren't solely due to her judgment, but were exacerbated, perhaps even caused by this hidden layer of control she never knew was fully there. The confession was staggering. It suggested that Victoria, the paragon of control, had been operating within a subtly rigged system for years. It cast the current Argentis scandal in a new light. Could the flawed reports have bypassed checks because the hidden protocol inadvertently created blind spots or delays that allowed them to slip through under pressure? It didn't absolve Victoria entirely, but it painted a picture of a leader unknowingly hampered by the very system she thought she commanded. Who implemented this? Who knew? Eleanor demanded, her mind racing. Your father authorized it, Abernathy said quietly. As for who designed it, who managed it after his passing, I do not know for certain. The circle was small and intensely discreet. He looked at Eleanor, his eyes pleading for understanding. I remained silent out of loyalty to your father's wishes, and then the years passed. But seeing Mrs. Willpower blamed now for failures potentially rooted in this deception, I could not keep silent any longer. Abernathy's confession didn't solve the immediate crisis, but it fundamentally altered the narrative. It hinted at a deeper conspiracy, a long-term manipulation within the heart of the Willpower legacy, far predating Julian Method's arrival. The question now was, who had controlled this hidden protocol all these years, and were they still pulling the strings? Abernathy's confession sent shockwaves through the already fractured Willpower family. While Victoria initially reacted with furious disbelief, dismissing it as the ramblings of an old man, Eleanor presented the information calmly, pointing out how it aligned with certain inconsistencies and unexplained setbacks over the years. The revelation that her late husband might have doubted her, might have implemented a system to constrain her, struck a deeper blow than the public scandal. It was into this atmosphere of confusion, betrayal, and wounded pride that Julian Method stepped forward, no longer just an observer, but positioning himself as the architect of the future. He convened a private meeting, not with the board, but with the core family members, Victoria, Alistair, and Eleanor, along with a select few trusted senior executives. The recent revelations, while painful, offer clarity, Julian began, his tone measured and empathetic. He acknowledged Abernathy's loyalty while framing the hidden protocol as a well-intentioned but ultimately flawed system from a bygone era. It confirms what my diagnostics suggested. The underlying methodology of Willpower Enterprises, despite its historical success, has inherent vulnerabilities. It relied too heavily on centralized command and was susceptible to hidden inefficiencies. Whether deliberately introduced, as Abernathy suggests, or simply evolved over time. He skillfully validated Victoria's strength while simultaneously condemning the system she embodied. Mrs. Willpower's legendary drive allowed the company to thrive despite these systemic flaws for years. But the Argentis situation demonstrates that such a model is no longer sustainable in today's complex global environment. Then he unveiled his solution, Project Renaissance. It was a comprehensive restructuring plan, presented with sleek graphics and compelling logic. On the surface, it addressed the very issues raised by the scandal and Abernathy's confession. It proposed decentralizing decision-making for key divisions, implementing new transparent reporting structures with multiple verification layers, and establishing an independent oversight committee. This new strategy makes the system robust, Julian explained, pointing to charts illustrating streamlined workflows. It distributes responsibility, empowers divisional leaders, and ensures checks and balances are not just present, but unavoidable. It makes success easy and satisfying, built into the process itself, rather than relying on heroic effort to overcome hidden obstacles. To Victoria, he offered a new role, Chairperson Emeritus, focusing on long-term vision and legacy, removed from the day-to-day operational pressures. Your wisdom and experience are invaluable, Mrs. Willpower, he purred. This allows you to guide the ship from the helm, without needing to personally inspect every rivet. To Alistair, whose recent restlessness and secret meetings with Eleanor were subtly acknowledged as a desire for more involvement, Julian proposed a co-leadership role in a newly formed Strategic Initiatives division, giving him apparent influence over future growth. To Eleanor, he offered the chair position on the new Oversight Committee, leveraging her reputation for diligence and ethical governance. You will be the ultimate guardian of the new system's integrity, Eleanor, he stated, appealing to her sense of responsibility. The plan seemed logical, addressing the identified problems. It appeared to offer everyone something, a dignified transition for Victoria, meaningful roles for her children, and a modernized structure for the executives. It felt easy, satisfying, a clear path out of the current crisis. But beneath the surface, the design was insidious. The decentralization effectively stripped Victoria of her direct operational control, relegating her to a figurehead. The Oversight Committee, while chaired by Eleanor, was structured in a way that its recommendations could be easily stalled or overruled by the new operational heads, positions Julian subtly guided towards executives loyal to him. Alistair's new division had a grand title, but limited real power, keeping him occupied but neutralized. The new transparent reporting structures, they all fed data through analytical systems designed and implemented by Julian's own team, giving him unprecedented insight and control over information flow. Project Renaissance wasn't designed to save Willpower Enterprises. It was designed to dismantle Victoria's power base, isolate her, and place Julian Method, the charming consultant, at the center of the web, controlling the flow, interpreting the data, and guiding the newly empowered but ultimately dependent divisional heads. He was designing the downfall, making it look like progress, making it seem easy and satisfying for everyone involved, except the one person who was truly losing everything: